From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DBIC, the Primetime Capper, and it is time for the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Echoes Live. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I hope you are feeling the same. And, it's Thursday. We are getting close to the end of the week. So, just pretty much trying to put all this together and make sure that we go into the weekend smoothly. Yesterday with the CBB bets list, I was able to give out 21 winning tickets, and we only had 5 losses yesterday. So that was pretty good. Also, last night, pretty, bad situation for the Lakers in a sense. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. So they'll be fine. We'll talk about that in a moment when we get to State of the Lakers. But we will start off today talking about the first game on Saturday in the NFL playoffs. But let's go ahead and talk about the quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders, and that's going to be Derek Carr, Fresno's own. But I mean Menifee, because that's exactly where they're from and everything like that. But they are Central California, Central California family and everything like that. So, Derek Carr has a lot of roots in being a Raider fan pretty much his whole life and everything like that. And we all know that his brother, David, was the number 1 pick in the draft. And David was pretty good in college as well, too. It's just he had bad luck coming into the NFL because he was drafted by a brand new team, which was the Houston Texans. But the Texans are kind of like a rare expansion team in a sense, too. They've actually had more success than they've had mediocrity in their time. So that's something that they can tip their cap to, but not in the first years with David Carr. But one thing that he can always say is that they beat the Dallas Cowboys in his first game. So, they've been able to rule the day a little bit since that opening day on Monday Night Football, which everybody totally remembers. But Derek Carr is a quarterback that a lot of people seem to have some issues with. They have, I'm talking about fans in general. They think that he's might not be one of the top tier quarterbacks in the NFL. I will have to go ahead and disagree. I think that it's so tough in today's NFL to have a quarterback throw for almost 5,000 yards, literally in back-to-back seasons in a sense as well, too. He threw for 4,800 yards this year. He pretty much led the league in passing yards most of the season as well, too. The reason being why it kind of fell off was because the Raiders went ahead and went into defensive mode, and they played a little bit more smarter instead of going a little bit more aggressive in games. They were trying to make sure that they won games, and this mentality has worked for the Raiders to where Derek Carr has become the ultimate game manager. When you are a quarterback, it's not always about throwing the ball 70 yards down the field for the big highlight play, and everybody gets excited about that. That's literally almost like a grand slam home run in baseball. That's like a alley-oop that you have 2 people underneath in basketball with. But in football, those plays, you'll get them, but you're not going to get them all game long. You have to play really smart, and you have to use your weapons as well, too. And Derek Carr has done a great job of that. And another thing that makes you glow about Derek Carr is he's not selfish at all. He knows Marcus Mariota is more of a mobile quarterback, and I think that he's even suggested in the quarterback room that we should go to certain plays and certain schemes with Marcus Mariota because it works. So you want to do everything to help your team win the game. It's not about you at the end of the day. And I think since he doesn't have the me mentality, a lot of people like to pick on him. And I think that's not a good – these aren't the players that you pick on. These are the players that you actually praise and you want to see do big things in the NFL. It's not about him. It's about making sure that this team moves forward and has a great great, you know, future. And I think that Derek Carr being even questioned on getting a new contract, that's absolutely silly, because at the end of the day, the Raiders are going to be drafting later in the draft. This is a horrible quarterback draft when you really put the list out. So you can't sit here and say that we got to move on from Derek Carr. No, you're not moving on from Derek Carr. Derek Carr is going to be the Raiders quarterback for as long as he wants to be. I think that he's going to probably have to take a little bit lesser money, so then they can go ahead and keep bringing in big time free agents, because the Raiders are an attractive landing spot for a lot of players as well too. But when we look at the game, this will be Derek Carr's first playoff game ever. And I'm telling you guys this, I think that he's going to absolutely take it all in, and he's going to do exactly what he's been doing for the last 4 weeks. And he's going to have himself a really, really good game for his team. And I think that the Raiders have everything it takes to go ahead and pull off a monster upset here in Cincinnati. I wouldn't consider it a monster upset either for a team that's had won 6 games in 2 seasons, and now all of a sudden they're the hottest thing in the league because they have 3 wide receivers and a quarterback that won a national championship. Yeah, they look really great and everything like that. But I think that week off and guys not playing in that final game against Cleveland kind of shows me that this is a tired team, and you're not just going to be able to pick that back up a week after, the season and everything like that. So pretty much, I know everybody pretty much got a de facto bye, and Joe Burrow is still dealing with the nagging injury as well too. They're just not saying anything about it. So there's a lot of things that are negatives to the Bengals. And also the Bengals won one big game, in my opinion, this season. That was the Chiefs game, and that was a comeback, and that was because the Chiefs got lackadaisical in that game. So all in all, this is going to be a tougher game for the Bengals than it is going to be for the Raiders. Yes, they already met up and they beat the Raiders by 19 points, but still, at the end of the day, they had to really fight and claw to even get that 19-point win over the Raiders. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. It should be a good one. Hopefully tomorrow I'll have Jeff in here so I can go over my predictions and everything like that for Saturday. So and Sunday as well too. So you guys make sure to tune in for that. But all in all, this is the man right here, Mr. Derek Carr, and I think that Raider fans need to understand that he ain't going nowhere. Okay, so there it is, paying homage to Mr. Carr. All right, so we move on to our next topic, and it's going to be the Rams and the Rams. It's going to be the Rams. The Rams are in a show and prove playoff game. I say they're in a show and prove playoff game because the thing is, they have a team here that is very overrated. Let's just keep it honest about the Rams. They have an overrated quarterback. They have a pretty much an overrated. I won't say that wide receiver core is overrated, but they do have one guy who is a little overrated. But you know what? He's been an absolute godsend for them as well, too, with losing Robert Woods, and that would be OBJ. But hopefully he has his focus on the game and not on other things like the last time he was in the playoffs. I would say that the Rams have to really show and prove in this game because they're going against an ailing Arizona team, and they're going against a team that their coach doesn't know what to put together to help his team win anymore. They pretty much won one game out the last 4 weeks where they really needed to win games. You know what I mean? And they were at one point they cruising to the number 1 seed, a bye, all that good stuff. They were the hottest team in the league with nobody talking about them, but there was a reason why nobody talked about them, because nobody believed in the Arizona Cardinals because they don't have a leader. They have a guy who's a coordinator, but they're saying he's a head coach. So the Rams have to show and prove, because they lose this game, it's not going to look really good on McVay, especially with them losing last week to the 49ers. So I think that, as I keep saying, a lot of people don't want to really believe me when I say this, but I would say that Sean McVay might not even know this, that he's possibly on a hot seat right now, because the way that they kind of choked off this situation against the 49ers, and you've had other spots where It's just that he just can't finish. And you go back to the Super Bowl and him overplaying his hand left and right against the great Bill Belichick. It's just he's a coach that you can't trust. That's all I'm saying at the end of the day. He did lead them to a Super Bowl, but I think that with the way that he goes about the way he's coaching this team, they can't be out there like robots. They have to be able to be free, be able to do their thing. I know that he's one of that has the highest spirit of all the coaches. He'll come over there and celebrate with you in the end zone. He does things that you've never seen coaches do. And I know in today's world, in today's game, people love that stuff. But I'm an old school guy. I think that's totally unprofessional on the coach's end to do that. And if I'm on the other side, I really want to kick your butt after I see your coach celebrating in the end zone with you. Be a professional. And I think that at the end of the day, he has to go ahead and be more of a professional for this team to actually be able to hoist that Lombardi trophy, because I'm not Stan Kroenke, but if I was Stan Kroenke, I'm telling everybody right now, I have pretty much an all-star team. We could do a reality show about this team pretty much because there's star power in the NFL. But at the end of the day, if you don't get me to my billion-dollar stadium to represent our franchise in the Super Bowl, you're gone, because this was the goal. This was the promise. You told us when you first came in and we first started balling out that you would have us in the when we host the Super Bowl, the Rams will be playing in there. And I know he told them this as well too. So, pretty much now it's time to show and prove, because this man Stan Kroenke spending a lot of money on this roster, and then he's spending a lot of money to make sure that other people are happy as well too. So this move could even exist. So at this point in time, the Rams aren't they're a big balling team, but they're ballers on a budget, and they're gonna have to show up because there's a lot of money getting tossed around to a lot of superstars, and they're not playing at the level that you want superstars to play at. They play exceptional on most weeks, but when they have these moments where everything falls apart, it looks really bad. And then it just always falls back on the coach, and you always find him blaming himself as if that's going to be a way for you to keep as a way to keep your job. I don't think so. I think that they have to show and prove. They have to absolutely go out there and crush the Cardinals. I know that they just have to win the game, but this is the type of game where they need to send a resounding message to the rest of the NFC that the Rams are here and we ain't messing around with nobody. All right. So that's my 2 cents on the Rams in this show and prove playoff game. They've even put these guys on Monday night of all games as well, too. Now, that's why you move from St. Louis. Because keep it real, if they were still in St. Louis and they were still playing in the playoffs, this would be the Fox game on Saturday after that Raider game, possibly, or some early morning game Sunday. That ain't nobody going to be worried about. But this one right here, the whole city, the whole world's going to be watching. So the Rams better show out. That's all I'm saying. All right. Let's go ahead and move forward to our CBB game of the day between two Big Ten rivals in the Ohio State Buckeyes and in the Wisconsin Badgers. These two teams are going at it today. You got a Ohio State team that's number 16 in the nation, and you got Wisconsin who's number 13. Both these teams have a good history against each other, and they are pretty much the teams that you look towards when it comes down to who's going to be the big dog in the Big Ten, because they're there every single season. It's not like they take any time off. The Ohio State Buckeyes and Wisconsin Badgers are commonplace in this conference. And also the Michigan State Spartans and the Michigan Wolverines. You name those four teams are usually in the tournament. So this game is huge because it goes longer than just tonight. This goes for seeding in their tournament. This goes for possible 3 matchups, things like that. This is the first one that they're getting into. I think that this game will wind up being our game of the it will wind up being the game of the night and that's why I selected it as the game of the day. I feel like it's going to be bucket for bucket here, which is those are the games I love. When we go bucket for bucket, even when I was playing basketball, those were the funnest games. When you go bucket for bucket, I make a bucket, you make a bucket. I miss a bucket, you miss a bucket. I make a bucket, it goes back and forth until that one time where you make and they miss. And that's what's the beautiful thing about basketball. Sometimes you can make sports art, and I think that basketball is one of them. So pretty much when it comes down to this one tonight, I think that Ohio State stays in the game and they keep this thing competitive and they possibly go ahead and win. And I think that they will go ahead and cover that 3.5-point spread as well, too, because it's a short spread, but it kind of favors Ohio State to outright win this game as well, too. But Ohio State has had many issues against teams that are ranked or teams that are having that have really good rosters, because we can all look back to the opener and they squeaked by Akron of all teams and then got absolutely smoked by Xavier. Even though they did come back in that game, Xavier dominated throughout that day. But seriously, the Ohio State Buckeyes will be better later, or as they like to say, greater later than they are right now. I think that a lot of teams are just trying to get over this COVID issue with a lot of these programs, and this goes for both leagues. And once everybody can get their comfort zone to where you have your full rosters intact, then we'll start seeing these teams that are supposed to be showing up show up, and these teams that are catching us by surprise to start to regress. So there it is. There it is. That's our CBB game of the day, and it's going to be between the Wisconsin Badgers, who will be the host, and the Ohio State Buckeyes. So there it is. There it is. So pretty much when we get back, we're going to get into the state of the Lakers. And after that, we're going to get into the NBA Thursday night. And as you guys are already anticipating, I already know, I already had people, like 5 people hit me up at early this morning, like, what you got for me today? As I always say, tune in at noon. So pretty much we'll have those talking tickets ready for you guys at the end of the show. But when I get back, we'll get into the NBA and we'll get into the Lakers, and pretty much you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles Live.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners, and I'll Have Another, and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, we are back with the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles Live. And last night did not go our way, Laker Nation. Pretty much the Lakers go into that game last night, and they wound up losing. The Lakers were back and forth with the Kings for a while there, but the Kings were able to take care of their business, get themselves a 9-point win. The Lakers did cut it down to 4 under 2 last night. I liked the way that they did put it together, but Melo not playing last night was huge, because Melo's like 10 to 15 points would have been the difference in that game last night for the Lakers, in my opinion. But all in all, even if Melo wasn't there last night, you guys have to step it up. You know, the people that are there have to step it up. And that's the biggest thing about the Lakers, as I said yesterday, and even LeBron has chirped this as well, too. I guess he was watching the show, that it doesn't matter who the leading scorer is going to be. It's all about winning the game. At the end of the day, LeBron could care less if he scores 2 points and fouls out the game. If they win by 1, he's good with that. You know what I mean? So you guys have to understand that. And Westbrook has even sacrificed his stats to make sure that the Lakers win games. See, because Westbrook isn't even playing in the overkill mode that he played in other places that he was at, especially not his OKC version. You know what I mean? So you guys have to understand, Westbrook really wants to help his hometown team win. LeBron really wants to help his new hometown team win. And pretty much the Lakers have probably half the roster that's all in, and the other half of the roster is just like, man, I love hot fiving with LeBron, AD, and Westbrook. Well, those guys are about to be gone soon. So pretty much, if you have some type of emotional attachment to some of these guys, just be ready for them to not be on this team anymore. And if you don't want to be with the Lakers anymore, you can go with them wherever they're going to go. I know that DeAndre Jordan's days are numbered. For sure, until they're just figuring out when a big man will become available. But you know what? I think DeAndre Jordan is being valuable as probably a player coach type as well too. So if they don't get rid of him, that's the reason why. And also we got to get Kendrick Nunn on the floor. We have to. And I think that Ken Bazemore will be off the team once Kendrick Nunn does take the floor, because they have already acquired a guard from Detroit, former guard from Detroit, on a 2-way contract. So I think that the Lakers have to have players that are ready to play and ready to contribute, not guys that just like to be on the sideline looking cool and looking and having a look and being drip and all this stuff. Save that for all the social media posts and all that BS that you guys do. So when you look at some of these guys on the bench, you start missing the KCPs of the world. You start missing Kyle Kuzma. You start missing Trez, because regardless of how you felt about those guys, they always came to play. So, that's a big loss, not having 2 guys that were a part of your championship team and a third guy who's one of the hardest working players in the NBA. So the Lakers, I'm not worried about this. I think that they're in good shape. They're 3-2 to start the year. They've won their last 5 out of 8 after dropping 5 in a row, and they had won 3 in a row before that. So the Lakers still, as I keep telling you guys, they still have a winning record after all that BS. So when you still have a winning record, you shouldn't be worried about anything. I saw somebody say the other day, these are 2 must-win games. I didn't know it was already April. Okay, these aren't must-win games this week. We would like to win, but we don't necessarily have to win the game, because we're still in a good spot. I keep hitting this on top of the head almost every day with whoever wants to hear. The NBA is very middling. There's about 6 really good teams in the league. Then everybody else is just playing. Seriously. And then there's about 10 really bad teams in the league. All right. So most of the league, 60% of the league pretty much is middling. Okay. 65, 70% middling. Because as I said about the college game, there's a lot of uncertainty about what's going on in the game on a daily basis because of these COVID issues. So you have to understand, once teams get into their rhythm, I don't think a lot of teams are in their rhythm yet, but we'll see teams getting into their rhythm as early as this month. So once these teams start getting into rhythm, then that's when things will start making sense. You know what I mean? And you have a team like Atlanta who's playing bad basketball now, but they've just traded Cam Reddish for Kevin Knox. So they should be in good shape once they just put their head on the swivel and focus in on the task at hand. There goes another team that is going to be better, is going to be greater later. So my thing is, I always like to think with the mentality of, starting from the back, but finishing with a tort, finishing, like your hair is on fire. So, hey, it is what it is. But last night, when we look at the stats, the box score, you have Russell Westbrook, who was a lot of people were kind of trying to clown on because he wasn't hitting the shots last night. But what's new? with that situation. You know, he went 2 for 14. He had 8 points, but you know what? He had 12 rebounds and he had 6 assists. That's what the point guards are supposed to do. For all these people that just feel the point guards are supposed to go out there and score 35 points a game, throw 15 assists, and get 11 rebounds. That's not possible every night, and that's really not possible. You know, every month. This was absolutely incredible what Westbrook did. LeBron was kind of out there by himself last night with 34, but Malik chipped in with his 22, and then the rookie, the hillbilly Kobe, hillbilly Mamba, whatever they like to call him, Austin Reeves had 19 points in 27 minutes last night, 4-7 from the 3-point line. He needs to keep contributing in that high fashion, especially with that 3-point, with the Lakers, the way that they're lagging on the 3-point shooters. This could work out to be an asset as well, too, if Reeves is able to really, really work on this shot, in my opinion. But he had a really good game last night, but the rest of the bench was really, really whatever last night. But, you know, all in all, though, Stanley Johnson did pretty good last night. I keep telling you guys, I really like Stanley Johnson. So he had 18 points in 11 minutes. The way I'm looking at this right now, he should have played a little bit more. I think that Ariza's 25 minutes were decent, but I think that when you look at who was really contributing and helping your team win the game last night, Stanley Johnson should have split that time last night, to be honest with you, because Trevor Ariza is nowhere near the person that he used to be 10 years ago or even 3 years ago. Trevor Ariza is very comfortable with the way that his NBA careers went. He knows that he's still a reliable player and everything like that, but he's his best days of him being him being coast to coast, lightning fast, that's all over and done with. But he still has that great defense as well, too. But I think that if you don't have him scoring enough, then I think that you got to get guys in there that are scoring. So that's how I'm feeling about that. And Dwight Howard did all right last night, too, as well. He had 7 rebounds and 8 points. But as LeBron said, too, he has to step it up. We would love to see some glimpses of the Dwight Howard that was seen as one of the great defensive players to come in the league and when he came in. So pretty much, you know, we got to get Dwight Howard back to being kind of focused on being a really, really high-end player. I think he's really comfortable with being just a role player, but I think Dwight Howard, there's many expectations on him, and I think that he needs to start living up to those expectations. I know it's not like how it used to be for him, but at the end of the day, I think that you have to do something to where it warrants your spot. You know, showing up every 5 games isn't going to cut it. So there it is. So I look at it, you know, the Lakers will be fine. They have Denver coming up next, first time this season. Denver's just like the Lakers. They're going through they're in even more of a survival mode, because you have to understand that 2 of their key contributors are out. So Jokic is literally holding this whole thing together. So that's a team that you can't look into this game and be like, oh, well, it's the Nuggets, we're going to lose. No, the Nuggets are going through the same issues as well, too. Literally have the same record as well. So it will be a good game when those teams lock it up, and it should work out. And when you look at the Kings, it's just unacceptable last night with what happened with the Lakers. Their whole starting 5 scored in double figures, including Barnes and Fox, who were able to go get 52 together last night. So you have to nip that in the butt. Their starting 5 really did a job on the Lakers last night. But this was a team that really needed to win this game, though, too, because they had been struggling going in. So it is what it is. The Lakers split with the Kings. None of us are really surprised by that, because the Kings and Lakers, it's just always been like that. Even when it was the Showtime Lakers, they used to have issues up in cow country. So it is what it is at the end of the day. All right, man. Shout out to my man Cruck, big Georgetown fan. BX in the house. You already know what it is, man. Thank you, sir, for saying something. Comments, you know. So let's move on to the NBA Wednesday night. So NBA Thursday night. I'm sorry. So NBA Thursday night, we have up first, we have the game of the night somewhat for some people. It's going to be the Warriors and the Bucks, and you have Clay I think back in his 3rd game. And you have the Bucks, who are pretty much trying to hold the fort down as the defending world champions and everything like that. But we're gonna see what they're really made of. Now, when you see this game setting up tonight, I know a lot of people are gonna figure it out and say, I want the Warriors tonight. But I think that you don't do that tonight. You have to really sit here and scoreboard watch this game. And I'm telling you this reason being is because the Warriors have lost their last 3 out of 5, and all 3 of those losses were on the road here. Okay. And they're back on the road tonight. Now, the Bucks aren't better. They've lost the last 4 out of 5, but they had 3 straight road games as well, too. So they're back at home, but they did drop 2 home games in a row. One to Detroit and lost the game by 9, and then one to Toronto. But Toronto is a surging team right now. You have a Bucks team that's 3rd in points scored in the league, and while you have the Warriors who are 10th. And when you look at 3-point shots made, you have the Bucks 2nd and the Warriors 5th in that category. And these are 2 of the top 5 rebounding teams in the league as well. Bucks being 2nd and the Warriors being 5th. Now, when it comes down to turnovers, that's the Warriors' Achilles heel. They are 29th in the league when it comes to turnovers, 15.3 a game. This is not a good recipe for the playoffs, in my opinion. I think that you have to make sure that you're taking care of the ball, because this will be the reason why you get put out the playoffs. But the way this Warriors team is built right now, they're not losing to anybody until they get to the NBA Finals. And that's tough for me to say that, because you know how I am. I'm very strong on Laker Nation, and I wasn't very impressed with their run, but as before for me, just like the Bulls run, I didn't particularly care for their first run because, I just couldn't get over the fact that the Lakers got whooped the way that they did by the Bulls in that series. So those next 2 series, I was going for the Blazers and the Suns and all that stuff. So you just have to understand, I just thought that maybe the Bulls were a bit overrated at the time, and they should always figure out a way to luck up and win in those games as well, too, just like the Patriots. The Patriots in Chicago and the 90s Bulls are very similar, in my opinion. And you have the second go around, the Bulls had been thrown to the Wolves. Nobody cared about Jordan anymore. They felt the league had already passed Jordan by. He was just a novelty act in somewhat after being beat by Orlando. We've already crossed the bridge. Orlando is going to be the next big it team, and they'll be greater than the Bulls ever were. Well, that didn't work out so much, did it? The year later, the Shaquille O'Neal would be in Los Angeles, and Penny Hardaway would be over there suffering some of his first key injuries of his career. So, it is what it is. But all in all, my story is like this. I respect what this Warriors team is doing now wholeheartedly, and I really do respect what they did in that 5-year run. They're going to 5 straight NBA finals or something of that nature. So, you got to just give props where props are due. You know what I mean? So, the Warriors tonight, they're going to be this is going to be a good spot for them. But I think what happens here is that we got wind up going over. So it's tough to pick a side because both these teams are kind of struggling coming into the game, but they'll be ready for each other tonight. And that's why I'm playing the over. And this is another game I feel may go bucket for bucket tonight. So let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. All right. So we move on to the Clippers, and the Clippers are going against the Pelicans. The Pelicans have actually had their way with the Clippers this year, believe it or not. The Pelicans have been not really good, but they've been actually picking it up since the beginning of the season, where they really, were struggling. And then Brandon Ingram, congratulations, the other night hit a game winner at the buzzer to help the Pelicans win that game as well, too. So the Pelicans are coming in here grooving a little bit. And the Clippers, as everybody knows, the Clippers are kind of going through the motions a little bit. The Clippers have dropped their last 10 out of 14 games. That they did go ahead and get a good win over Atlanta team, who's pretty bad on the road. So now they line it up with the Pelicans tonight. I think what happens here is that the Clippers have already learned that they have to take the Pelicans very seriously, because they've actually just been lambasted by the Pelicans. These have been some of the Pelicans' best wins of the year. And I think that Brandon Ingram still has a little bit of, animosity towards those Clippers as well, too, those first seasons with the Lakers. So, he'll be out tonight. He'll be trying to get his 30-40 on the Clippers. And I know a lot of people are kind of straight on the Clippers right now because you don't have Paul George, you don't have Kawhi. But you know what? You got a really good roster of guys that just show up every night. And you know what? This is the type of game that they can go ahead and win as a full team on a full team effort. They still got Reggie. So they'll be okay. So we'll see how it goes, see how it shakes out. But I do have the Clippers tonight as the dog of the day. All right, so we move on and let's go ahead and jump into our next game, which is going to be the Wolves and the Grizzlies. The Wolves and the Grizzlies, both these teams, both playing really good basketball right now, but the Grizzlies are something else, man. I'm telling you, dude. This team is absolutely incredible. Ja Morant is starting to become like one of the most important faces in basketball right now. I'm not surprised by any of that either, because as I said on draft night, that when you compare him and Zion is a almost like a flash in the night. This is gonna be one of the biggest hype jobs you'll ever see in NBA history. It's not gonna say that he's not gonna be I'm not saying he's gonna be a bad player or anything like that, because he's been exceptional, but he'll never be healthy enough to really have a full NBA career, because the way that he goes about the game and the way that his discipline is about his weight and things of that nature, and going forward and trying to be the best possible player he can be. The guy kind of is just settled in on his athletic talent alone, and that's not going to pay the bills at the end of the day. So if you don't really want to be great, then you're not going to be great. You can only get off on natural talent for so long. So when you look at Ja, I said Ja was going to be a 12-year veteran, multiple All-Star, probably will wind up being in the Hall of Fame because he has more motivation. Come on. The guy played for a mid-major small school in college, and he had them looking pretty good at the end of the day, because he was having stellar games, and he was a guy who could have played for the big schools, but he wound up choosing the school that he did because they were always a fan of him and they were always, supportive. And those other schools were just like, hey, we got guys that are exactly like you, and you know what? We just don't need you. You're too skinny. Yeah, I don't know. It's just something about you. So John goes and kills it, and then he's in the NBA, and he's doing everything that you thought Zion would be doing right now. So pretty much you got to be on the court for you to have a great career, and Zion has barely been on the court. So when we talk about the game, we have a Grizzlies team 10 wins in a row. You have a Wolves team coming in here going through the motions, because they'll win 5, then lose 5. They'll win 5, then lose 5. But right now they're 4-2 in the month of February, and they're doing much better than they did to end the year. So, they're coming fresh off of a 3-point loss in New Orleans. Now they're in Memphis tonight. So this one should be fun as well, too. They did play Memphis already, and they actually beat Memphis by 43 points first time around. So, 43 points. I'm like, wow, 43. But they did lose by 7 as well, too, when they went to Memphis in their first meeting. So these teams are tied up 1-1, and they're both Northwest teams as well, too. And if you ever ask why, it's because the Grizzlies used to play in Vancouver, and they still haven't did the relocation thing. So we'll take it as how it is. I would say that this game will wind up being a really good game for the Grizzlies. They're only at -4 tonight. That is kind of questionable as well, too. But they're saying to us that the Wolves should be into this one as well. But I think that the Grizzlies are just going to be way too much for this team at home. They wind up winning this game by 5 or more points. We move on to our next game, which is going to be the Nets and the Thunder. And this is going to be over at Buckeyes tonight in Brooklyn, baby. So you have the Thunder and the Nets. You have Durant going against the team that he played for. They did not draft him because he was drafted by the Seattle Supersonics. who moved to OKC. You guys know the story. So you have a OKC team now who's 13-27 on the year. Brooklyn coming off a monster effort last night with that win over the Bulls, beating them by 26 points and dropping 138 on a team that plays some pretty damn good defense and was going into that game winners of their last 10 out of 12. So they took care of business in that spot last night. And you know what? They're probably going to take that momentum to tonight. I see the 5.5, and I think that what they're telling us is that we're going to put 5.5 out tonight because we don't know who's going to be playing for Brooklyn. But even if KD was to sit out, one of them is going to play, Harden or KD. So if you have one of them on the court, you should win this game. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and gamble a little bit. If you don't have either one of them on the court, you can still win this game because OKC will have the idea that this is a night where they can get off, and this will be a night where they play a pretty bad game because they have the idea that they'll be able to compete with the really good Brooklyn Nets team that, when it comes down to it, is the team to beat in the Eastern Conference. So it's almost like it's almost inevitable that we're going to get this Nets Warriors matchup, and won't it be so grand? You would have San Francisco versus Brooklyn, so that would be telling in itself. So it is what it is. But when it comes down to it, I like the Nets tonight with the 5.5. Let's see how it goes. We'll see how it checks out. We move forward from there. All right, so we move on to our next game. This is going to be the Blazers versus the Nuggets. The Blazers and the Nuggets coming into this one tonight. The Blazers got some bad news. Dame Lillard is going to be out for the next 2 months, if not the rest of the season, because if they don't step it up, Dame's just going to sit out the rest of the year and rest his abs. But I heard it's a hip situation as well too, and I don't like when I hear about guys having hip issues, because hip issues literally kind of end your career in a sense after a while. You know what I mean? Ask Isaiah Thomas, even though he's still playing right now. If you see him now, he's not as fast and little nimble as he used to be. He's kind of, you kind of can keep up with him now. So pretty much you have a Blazers Nuggets matchup tonight. Blazers, I think, are about to go into the can, honestly. With no Lillard and the way that they had the shakeup in the front office earlier in the year, I just don't see this team competing in the second half of the season like they've been doing the last few years. I think that it's an absolute wrap the moment that they said that Lillard was going to be going to the IR for the next 2 months. So I think that this is the end of days for a lot of people on this roster who have been here for a while. So they're probably preparing to be playing for another team soon. And then you have a Nuggets team, as I keep saying, they're still chugging along, even though they don't have Murray or Porter Jr. They're still chugging along with the MVP of the NBA, Jokic. So this game tonight, a Nuggets team that usually has a lot of games go under at home, I'm going to go ahead and bank on that tonight. And I think that this game goes under 211.5. Even though the Blazers don't have Dame right now, them being a plus 11 against a Denver team that has issues covering games doesn't make me want to run to Denver and take a 11 on them tonight, even without Dame. This is still a rivalry game. And I think that there will be some pride in this game as well, too. So that's why I think the Nuggets will probably stick around, but they won't win the game. But we'll see how it goes. It could be your big dog bet today as well, too. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. And that is our NBA Wednesday night. All right, so we move on, and let's go ahead and jump into Talking Tickets. And Talking Tickets, we have ourselves 3 tickets today. And we have up first the Dog Day PK4. This one is this one is the number right here. This one is going to be 95-1. This one right here, you put up $20, you get 1,900. So you put up 10, you get 950. So hey, gamble just a little. All right, so Stanford money line plus 260. Then we have IUPUI money line plus 375. And then we have the Ohio State money line at plus 140. And then we also have Abilene Christian tonight at plus 150. So single what you like there, but it's going to be a 95-1 ticket. We're going to see how this one shapes up. We're going to see how it goes. But I think that we could be on to something tonight because Stanford's in a good spot. IUPUI is in a good spot. Ohio Ohio State's in a good spot, and Abilene Christian's in a great spot as well too. These are very winnable games for all four of these teams. That's why I'm going ahead and doing this. But the only thing that we're dealing with this one that kind of, you kind of throw a flag on it is that all these teams are road teams. Not one is a home team, but that's okay. We just need 4 big road wins, and all these matchups are capable of that happening. That's why they are on the Dog Day Pick 4. All right, so we move on to our primetime pick 6 for college basketball. And with this, we have Georgetown with the plus 105 today. And then we also have Winthrop with the minus 4.5. And then we have Sam Houston with the minus 5. And then we have Mercer with the money line minus 135. And then we have Idaho with the plus 17.5. And then we end off with Louisiana Monroe with the plus 8. This will give us a 44-1 ticket. Once again, this is high value on the ticket, small risk, big reward. All right, we move on to our final group, and this is going to be the NBA Super High Five, which is 32-1. And in this one, we have a over 223.5 with the Warriors and the Bucks. And then we also have the Clippers with the plus 145. And then we have the Grizzlies with the minus 4. And then we also have the Nets with the minus 5.5. And then we end off with the under 211.5 with the Blazers and the Nuggets. And this ticket will be 32-1. So pretty much this one right here is you get 640 for your $20. So, this one might be your 50 spot. So we'll see how it goes. These odds are better than a lotto, like I always like to tell you guys. So pretty much let's try to get one of these bad boys home, and let's see how we do on our bets list as well too today. So you guys make sure, if you're not following me on Twitter already, that you guys do start following me on Twitter, because I'm the only capper that's going to be really have your back. You know what I mean? So pretty much you guys can also go ahead, and I'm not telling you have to, but when we have big days like yesterday and you guys are cashing in on that type of stuff, there is a tip jar that is open on Twitter, and you guys can go ahead and throw some tips if you guys do not want to sign up and be clients, because you know what, there's a lot of time that goes into this, and I get a lot of DMs from people who are non-clients, and I do give you my time. But you know what? I like to say this word. Let's start paying homage a little bit. You know what I mean? So pretty much, if you guys want to really be a part of the movement, you want to talk to me, things like that, and you guys are winning off me, then you guys need to go ahead and try to, compensate just a little bit. I'm not begging you to do that or anything like that, because I don't need it, but I just think it's the right thing to do. Don't you think? Because if somebody gives some great tips and things like that, then you guys throw tips for people just handing you a napkin and a cup. So pretty much I'm doing way more than that. I'm changing lives here. So it is what it is. But all in all, I still love you guys. I thank you for all the support at the end of the day. But I just want to go throw that PSA out there to you guys, to people that are interested in moving forward with this, or kind of still straddling the fence and things like that. Never be too shy just to come talk to me and see what we can work out. So it is what it is at the end of the day. This is the Primetime Angles Live with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. And I'll be back tomorrow. We're probably going to start early because I do have a busy day. I'm supposed to be at Santa Anita tomorrow for some pretty good Friday races and things like that. I'm going to try to have as much content for you guys there as well too. So you guys make sure to tune in for that stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I thank you guys once again. You guys are the absolute best. And as I always say, if you got a hunch, bet a bunch. Always bet with your head, not with your heart. And the movement is moving. This is the premier sports betting show, the Prime Angles Live, with the Primetime Capper, Mr. Pop DiBiase. And I'll be right back at you tomorrow. Y'all be blessed. And I am gone.
East and the West. You've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.